When Jungkook's name was announced as the winner of the International Song of the Year award at the 2025 SEC Awards for his single Never Let Go, the atmosphere in the venue shifted instantly. It was more than applause, more than another trophy for a world-renowned artist. It was a declaration. This moment did not simply mark an accolade for an individual song. It marked the culmination of years of artistic growth, relentless dedication, and the unshakable bond between Jungkook and millions of fans across the globe. The SEC Awards have long been positioned as one of the most competitive music stages in the world. Unlike fan-voted awards, their recognition is anchored in industry evaluation, global impact, and measurable influence across borders. Winning here means validation not only from fans but from executives, critics, and peers within the international music industry. For Jungkook, who has constantly faced scrutiny as both a K-pop idol and a solo artist venturing beyond, Never Let Go's triumph represents a powerful turning point. In order to understand the magnitude of this victory, one must examine the song itself, the context of its release, the global reception, and the cultural weight of Jungkook's presence in music history. His win at the SEC Awards is not an isolated incident, but rather the latest chapter in a story about persistence, artistic independence, and a voice that resonates far beyond language barriers. Released in mid-2024, Never Let Go carried with it a unique aura. It was not initially designed to be a blockbuster pop anthem aiming for radio dominance. Instead, it was framed as a gift to fans, a heartfelt reminder of Jungkook's gratitude to the millions who had stood beside him from the beginning of his career to his rise as a solo global star. What made Never Let Go extraordinary was its layered simplicity. Musically, it fused elements of contemporary R&B, pop, and subtle EDM beats, creating a track that was both intimate and universal. The lyrics, though straightforward, carried deep sincerity. The message of never letting go, of holding on through distance, time, and struggle, mirrored not only the artist's personal journey, but also the emotional tether he shares with his fandom, ARMY. Unlike heavily marketed singles from Western pop giants, Never Let Go rose in influence organically. Fans streamed it endlessly, independent curators added it to playlists, and within weeks, it was charting across multiple continents. The power of the song wasn't in extravagant promotions, but in its ability to resonate. Jungkook's victory at the SEC Awards signals something bigger than a personal milestone. It is a cultural breakthrough. While K-pop has undeniably infiltrated global charts, the industry has often faced skepticism from international gatekeepers who categorize it as a regional trend, rather than mainstream global music, but Never Let Go shattered that narrative. Unlike many K-pop songs, which are sometimes dismissed as overly dependent on fan-driven streaming, this track crossed into neutral territories. It was played on radio stations in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. Music critics in France and Germany praised its production quality and universal appeal. Latin American listeners compared its emotional resonance to ballads from their own traditions. It became clear, this was not just a K-pop song, it was a global pop masterpiece. The SEC Awards recognition acknowledges that Jungkook has not only carried K-pop into the global mainstream, but has also established himself as a solo artist of international stature, one who competes with and surpasses the world's most dominant pop stars. Winning International Song of the Year means more than receiving a trophy. It signifies that among the vast sea of global releases, songs backed by billion-dollar labels, marketed with relentless campaigns, and pushed by the biggest radio conglomerates, it was Jungkook's song that ultimately defined the year. This category has historically been awarded to songs that transcend culture and geography. Past winners often include chart toppers from Western superstars whose music dominates streaming platforms by default. For Jungkook to step into that circle and not only compete, but win signals a seismic shift. The global music industry can no longer ignore the weight of Asian artists on equal footing. This award cements Jungkook as a pioneer. While BTS as a group has collected global honors, this is one of the clearest validations of Jungkook's ability to stand as an independent force in the global arena. Though largely a professional milestone, the emotional undertones of this victory cannot be ignored. Jungkook's relationship with his fans is unlike any typical artist-fandom connection. Armies have walked with him through every stage, from his teenage debut to his rise as the golden magne of BTS, from uncertain solo beginnings to his eventual recognition as a standalone icon. When Never Let Go was released, many fans interpreted it as a message of reassurance during uncertain times, particularly as Jungkook navigated the pressure of proving himself outside the collective safety of BTS. The award win, then, is not only Jungkook's success, but also a collective triumph for fans who carried the song on their shoulders, who streamed endlessly, who promoted tirelessly, and who believed unwaveringly. For Jungkook, stepping on stage to accept this award likely carried a personal weight. Though he did not weep or dramatize, observers could see the quiet reflection in his expression, a subtle acknowledgement of the years of practice, the relentless striving for perfection, the doubts endured, and the sacrifices made. It was, in many ways, a moment of healing, a signal that everything had been worth it. What made this win especially striking was the industry response. Analysts and insiders, often cautious in praising non-Western artists, openly celebrated the result. Trade magazines highlighted how Never Let Go's chart performance and global airplay challenged traditional assumptions. Executives privately acknowledged that Jungkook's achievement would force labels to rethink their global strategies. For fellow artists, Jungkook's win served as both inspiration and disruption. Up-and-coming Asian performers saw in him a model of possibility, proof that an Asian artist could not only participate in but dominate the most competitive categories in Western-dominated award shows. For Western counterparts, it was a reminder that music's power was no longer confined to familiar territories. Beyond the stage lights and applause, the victory of Never Let Go represents something deeply symbolic. It embodies the shift in cultural power from the West to a more globalized landscape. Music, once filtered and gatekept by a handful of countries, is now being shaped by diverse voices across continents. For Korea, Jungkook's win is more than national pride. It is a reframing of cultural identity. South Korea, once viewed on the periphery of global entertainment, now stands as a central contributor to the international music scene. And Jungkook, standing at the forefront, becomes both an ambassador and a bridge. While the SEC award win is monumental, what makes it more compelling is what lies ahead. This award is not a conclusion, but an opening act. Having secured global validation, Jungkook is positioned to further shape the international music landscape, perhaps experimenting with cross-cultural collaborations, pioneering new soundscapes, or redefining what it means to be a global pop star in the digital era. The responsibility, however, is immense. Success raises expectations, and Jungkook must now balance his artistry with the weight of being seen as a representative for an entire generation of Asian musicians. Yet, if Never Let Go and its recognition at the SEC Awards have proven anything, it is that Jungkook thrives under pressure and has the resilience to carry that responsibility. The story of Never Let Go begins not in the spotlight, but behind closed doors. Jungkook, known for his perfectionist tendencies, reportedly recorded multiple demos and variations of the track before finalizing the version the world would hear. Every detail mattered to him. The texture of his vocals, the layering of harmonies, the balance between instrumental simplicity and emotional intensity. This meticulousness is not new. Jungkook has long been described by producers and colleagues as someone who refuses to release music until he feels it is a genuine reflection of his intent. That process often delays projects, but it is also why his songs resonate so deeply. They are not manufactured products churned out for commercial cycles. They are crafted, nurtured, and refined until they feel true. When Never Let Go emerged, many listeners sensed this authenticity instantly. The song did not sound like it was chasing charts or mimicking Western pop trends. It sounded like an intimate diary entry, polished enough for the world stage, but raw enough to carry sincerity. Despite his global fame, Jungkook entered his solo career with heavy expectations, and with those expectations came doubt. Could he succeed without the name of BTS attached? Would the world take him seriously as a soloist, or would he be confined to the image of the golden magne? The release of Never Let Go was, in many ways, a test. Some industry skeptics predicted it would perform modestly at best, pointing out that Western radio has historically resisted non-English music, especially songs emerging from Asian artists outside their group context. Critics whispered that Jungkook's first solo ventures might not meet the impossible standards set by BTS's global dominance, but what skeptics overlooked was the emotional infrastructure Jungkook had built with fans over more than a decade. Never Let Go was not merely another track, it was a dialogue, a reassurance, and a gesture of trust. Fans rallied behind it not out of obligation but out of recognition. This was Jungkook, unmasked, offering them something personal. The doubts from outsiders did not stop the song. It only amplified the resolve of Jungkook and those who supported him. The trajectory of the song's rise is worth revisiting in detail. Upon release, it entered streaming platforms quietly, without the massive promotional blitz that usually accompanies songs from Western pop giants. There were no elaborate teaser campaigns, no celebrity endorsements, no overproduced marketing strategies, and yet, within hours, the track began trending globally. Fans across continents coordinated streaming parties, yes, but what truly propelled the song forward was its organic spread. Listeners outside the fanbase stumbled upon it in curated playlists, on TikTok videos, or through word of mouth. Influencers used it in background edits, couples adopted it as a theme for their love stories, and gym-goers played it on repeat during late-night sessions. Soon, Never Let Go was everywhere. It charted in over 60 countries, reached the top 10 of the Billboard Global 200, and earned significant airplay on Western stations that traditionally resist non-Western music. This wasn't manufactured virality, it was a genuine cultural moment. Every artist eventually has a song that becomes more than music, something that symbolizes their ethos, their struggle, and their connection with the public. For Jungkook, Never Let Go is that song that it mattered more than other tracks because it captured the essence of his solo identity. Unlike heavily choreographed BTS performances or experimental collaborations, this song placed the spotlight squarely on his voice. His vocal performance, rich, controlled, and emotionally textured, carried the song without the need for distraction. The lyric simplicity, Never Let Go, resonated because it was universal. Anyone could relate. Lovers separated by distance, friends enduring hardships, fans holding on to their artist, or individuals refusing to surrender their dreams. That universality turned the song into a shared emotional language, and when the SEC Awards declared it International Song of the Year, it wasn't merely recognizing numbers. It was recognizing how the song had become a vessel of connection in a fragmented world. Teo fully grasped the significance of Never Let Go. One must also examine Jungkook's emotional vulnerability during its release. Unlike some artists who keep a deliberate barrier between their personal and professional selves, Jungkook has often allowed his audience glimpses into his insecurities, his doubts, and his search for meaning in fame. This vulnerability reached new heights during his solo career. He openly discussed the difficulty of balancing expectations, of proving himself not just as a member of BTS, but as an artist in his own right. Never Let Go was not only a message to fans, but also a promise to himself, that he would not let go of his dreams, his artistry, or the values that brought him this far. When he accepted the award at the SEC ceremony, this vulnerability was evident. His speech was brief but heartfelt, acknowledging both fans and his team. Observers noted the slight tremor in his voice, the quiet pauses between words. It wasn't the polished speech of a detached celebrity, it was the voice of someone who understood the weight of the moment. The SEC Awards are industry-driven, meaning Jungkook's victory represents a shift in how the music industry views global talent. No longer can Asian artists be confined to categories like Best International Act or Best K-pop Performance. By winning International Song of the Year, Jungkook competed directly against and surpassed Western pop heavyweights. This recognition forces the industry to reframe its narratives. For years, the assumption was that K-pop's global rise was fueled almost exclusively by fan mobilization. While fan support was undeniably crucial, Jungkook's win highlights that his music holds intrinsic value that transcends fandom. Critics, radio programmers, and executives alike could not deny the craftsmanship of Never Let Go. It signals a new era in which language and origin matter less than impact and quality. The barriers that once defined mainstream versus foreign are dissolving, and Jungkook stands at the heart of this transformation. And of course, the role of ARMY cannot be overlooked. Fans did not simply consume the song, they built ecosystems around it. Streaming campaigns, translation efforts, fan art, social media edits, all contributed to amplifying its reach. But unlike hollow campaigns that sometimes inflate numbers artificially, ARMY's efforts were sustainable and authentic. What made this dynamic powerful was the mutual trust between artist and fans. Jungkook trusted that his heartfelt offering would be received with care, and fans trusted that supporting the song was supporting his growth. The relationship here is less transactional and more symbiotic, a rare phenomenon in the entertainment world. Thus, when Jungkook won the award, fans felt a collective ownership of the victory. It was not just his award, it was theirs, too. With Never Let Go immortalized by the SEC Awards, Jungkook's legacy takes on a new shape. He is no longer just the youngest member of BTS, nor just a talented vocalist experimenting with solo work. He is now a defining voice of his generation, capable of standing alone in the international arena. This does not mean his journey is complete. In fact, it sets the stage for new challenges. Can he replicate the success? Will he expand into new genres? Can he sustain a career that balances both mainstream dominance and personal authenticity? These are questions that will define the next phase of his artistry. Yet, regardless of future hurdles, one truth is clear. Jungkook has already carved his place in global music history. Never Let Go ensured that.